Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video I want to talk about environmental variables in Node and everything you'd ever want to know about environmental variables in Node. What are environmental variables? The idea behind an environmental variable, it's a variable that belongs to the environment that you're working in. Okay? So that means they're not built into your code because you might run your code in different environments. A production environment, a development environment. So generally these variables are very specific to the situation that you're running in. And generally these may sometimes have sensitive information. So you generally try to keep this, they're basically stuff that, they're the variables that get brought into your code, they're not in your code. So the way basically Node works, I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this env-prac, meaning environmental variable practice. And we are going to cd into there, open the terminal. Let me close this starter stuff up. We are going to do we'll just touch a testing.js. I'm going to do an npm init-y so that way we can install some dependencies and run some scripts. So that's all getting set up. Cool. So let's go into scripts and I'll show you the first way you can do it. Well, actually, anytime you use an environmental variable, it gets stored in an object that gets passed into your code called process.env. Where is this defined? Node defines it. So Node, when the code runs, will get these variables and store them in this object. Now, one way you could store them, you could literally just send them right in the command that you make. So I could literally do this one like this. My var equals cheese node testing.js. And just so we can see that that variable gets passed in, I'll type in process.env, or actually let's console log that. Console.log process.env, and in that object is the property my var. So I want to save that. I want to run this command. So see, we're doing the variable first, and then we're doing the node testing.js. And see, it gets console logged right there. See cheese. Okay, but then if I run it again and I don't put the command in there, so let's say I just do node testing.js, it's going to come back as undefined because I never sent it. See, undefined. So you could just pass in these variables. You shouldn't. Usually the only time you pass in variables are like little minor ones, and you just do like one or two. Like where you'll see this a lot is in your scripts in your package.json. So for example, you'll see something like this, probably. Let me just create some scripts. So we'll call this dev, and you'll see something like node env equals development. This is sort of a standard practice. Node env is just a standard variable that's used to describe what environment you're working in, whether it's a development environment or a production environment. So you would do something like this, node testing.js. And then you may have another script that's, we'll say start for production. And then that one will say like node env equals production. Node testing.js. Okay. So now let me change the testing.js so that way it's printing the environment. So node env. So it's printing out what environment are we in. So now if I do npm run dev, see, I'm in a development environment. And if I do npm run start, I'm in a production environment. I got console logged. So that's, useful for those type of variables. Okay. There's other variables that are like information, because the thing is that the package.json you'll probably push up to like GitHub. So you don't want that on GitHub where people can see it and get all your API keys and stuff like that. So generally you're going to want certain variables hidden, and you want them hidden in a file that doesn't get pushed up to GitHub, like your package.json. So this is where environmental variable libraries come in. So first what we're going to do is do the standard library. The very standard one is called .env. So npm install .env. This is sort of the simplest one. Okay. And let's scroll down. So that's installed. And this one works pretty straightforward. This, by default, and you can't really configure it otherwise, will look for a file called .env. Okay, that's generally standard practice. That all your environmental variables go in a file called .env. Okay, so even though they're brought in differently in other languages, generally it's still in a file called .env. And I can define all my variables here. So I can define, cheese equals Gouda, port equals 5,000, and define all these variables there. Okay, and then I go here, and then I bring that in by doing this. Require, so I bring in the library, so require .env, and then I just run this function called config, and all those variables get loaded up. It just basically allows Node to go read that file, grab all the variables, and then store them in the process.env object. So now if I just print out those process console log, or actually I'll just destructure those variables. Const, it was cheese and port equals process.env, so I'm destructuring them from the object, so it's easier to type. Console.log cheese and port. So if it all works, okay, node testing.js, I should get like good. Well, let's see what happened there. Where did I console log something else? Oh, I forgot. I still have this console log here. Okay, save. Let's run that again. And you see Gouda 5000. It grabbed the variables in there. So that works. So you can stash like, your database URLs and whatnot. And then what you would do is that, let's say you deploy to something like Heroku. Heroku generally has a special place for you to define all those variables on their platform. So that way you don't have to actually, like, again, move that file around. So this .env file is really just for my local environment. And then when I move it to a production environment, I'd have to go define it there. But maybe you want multiple .env files, because when you're just doing normal dev, you want to use your local database just for practice. But then when you want to test the code, you don't necessarily want to push everything. You may want to just run the site locally, the front end locally, but still work off your production database. So in that case, you need like multiple sets of environmental variables. So how would you do that? Okay, there's a couple different libraries that let you do that. For that, we're going to go look that up. Okay, I just used one recently, but it's escaping me at the moment. But there are other environmental variable libraries in Node. So you just find one that kind of does the thing that you want it to do. So we'll wait for Chrome to load up. I think it's custom-env is the one I used, but I'll just show you how you look it up. So you'd go to the npm website, npmjs.com. And there's a different libraries, so you can just look up env. Okay. And there's a variety of different libraries for you to define environmental variables. So .env again is like sort of the standard one. Where's the one I'm looking for? I'm not gonna go through all of these. It's one particular one. YML, that's an interesting. This is one I want to try out because you can do YML files for your environmental variables, which is just a very particular way to write config. So it's called like yet another markup language. Essentially, a markup language is very similar to Python, where it's all about tabs. Is it like custom-env? Where is it? This. Remember, yep, there's another one with the YAML files. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Let's try. I'll just throw in the word custom. There it is, custom-env. So let me go install it. Npm install custom-env. What was it again? Custom-env. So that will install. And let me just show you how this works. Okay. Here we go. Again, just remember how you name the files. How to be expanded. I just want to. No. Here we go. So basically what you do is you're going to name the file .env.the-environment. So like production, development. And then you would pass in the, you would pass it in right over here. Okay, so let's try that out. So I'm going to create two environmental files. So new .env.development. Okay, and this one will have a cheese of American and a port of 6,000. Save, and then we'll create a production one, new file .env.production. Okay, .env.production. Nice, cool. And then what we're going to do here, and then actually let me give some values there. So cheese here will be provolone, and port here will be 7,000. Okay, and then if I go back to the actual testing.js, we're going to do is we're going to require custom-env instead. And then you have a function called just env, and there we pass it the name of the environment, which will pass as process.env.node environment, because we already have that kind of configured in our scripts. Save. So essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to type in npm run dev, which goes into our scripts. It's going to run and say that the node env variable is called development. It hits our testing.js, passes development into here, which means it's going to pull from the .env.development, and now it'll be pulling these, and you'll see the difference between both. So npm run dev, so I should get America and 6,000, which I do. And then if I do npm run start, I will get provolone 7,000, because when I do npm run start, I hit start, the environment is production. Production then kicks in this environmental file that has these values. So however you want to set it up. But this gives you kind of a good spattering of sort of what your options are as far as dealing with environmental variables in Node. Well, let's go learn one more library. So let's take a look at the YAML library. So I'll just do env-yml, because I'm sure there's a few of them. Okay, I'll go with the first one, env-yml. Okay, so let's try this out. So let's first install it. Npm install env-yml. And let's read about how this works. File. Cool. Load env require load env. Path. Environment. There we go. So that's how that works. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so that's installed. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a, what's the file we need to call it? myapp.yml. We'll just call it env.yml. Why not? So I'm going to create a new file called env.yml. Okay, and then here we can specify, basically the way it works is like you put the name of the environment. So I'm going to call this production. Well, first we'll do development. Okay. And development will be, and here we can put the different names. So again, it's cheese equals, I think, what was it, American for development, American, port equals 5,000, and then for production, cheese equals provolone, port equals 6,000. Okay, nice. That's all YAML file is. You just put like titles and you put things in port, except it decided to do that because my auto formatter is being mean. Bah. Okay, let me see if I can turn off prettier on this. Okay. Well, prettier wants it to look like that, so let's just see if it works. Okay. Now I'll have to turn off prettier so we can do that. But we'll cross that bridge. So now let's see here. Let's think this through. Now I have to do the next piece. So back to testing.js. So instead we're going to require env-yml is the library. Okay. I'm just going to run the function right away. Let me just copy this object because that's what we pass into it. Copy. So I'm going to do this. Like that. And then we should be just calling env.yml is my file. I will leave the encoding alone. And as far as what environment it is, again, that's passed in by our script. So I'll just keep using that process.env.node env. So that's how I will handle that. And let's see if it can read my YAML file, despite Prettier's insistence on formatting it in a way that I don't want to format it. Let's see here, npm run dev. So if that worked, we should get American 6,000 back, or 5,000. Nope, it did not work. So let's see, where is it? Complaining process. Fine. Let's turn off prettier. So let me turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to do the longer way. Settings. Format. This code. I just want to turn off the format on save for a moment. On type controls where the editor should automatically format the line after typing. No. Can I specify for YAML files? Let's find out. Settings we were written for YAML language. Okay, that I'll play around with later. Okay, so let me go back to my YAML file. Let's try this again. Okay, now let's see if that fixes the problem. Nope, so that wasn't the problem. Okay, let's go back and revisit the docs. Yeah, I'll just follow their path here. I probably should make that UTF-8. That's the issue. UTF-8. Let's try that first. Nope. Okay, path to YAML file. Doopa-doopa-doopa-doo. Yep, dot YAML, that's fine. I guess we'll just take the extra steps of doing this. Copy. Try this first. No. Oh. Npm run dev. Still doesn't like it. env-yml utf-8 node environment. So if I'm missing declaring variables, database host, database port. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to console log just to make sure that it's getting the environmental node process dot node. Oh no, process dot env dot node env. Let's first test if that's coming across. It is. It is. Let's go back to our env.yml development. Okay, I think I may see what I'm doing wrong here, because I think in YAML files you do need to put quotation marks. So let me just do that. Okay, let me just compare again how they did it. Oh, and it's not equals, it's colons. Ah, silly me. There we go. As you can see, I don't use YAML very often. Something I've been meaning to try out more. There we go. Let's see. Now let's see if that works out now. Save. npm run dev. Wait, did I still delete everything? I can delete it. Yep, no, I still got it there. So let's see here. npm run dev. Yep, it works. Okay. And then if I do npm start. Cool. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I still said, yeah, that worked. Good, 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 good. Yeah. So there we go. That's, I think, everything you'd probably really need to know about environmental variables in Node. Otherwise, it's just knowing about your particular platform that you're deploying on. How do you do the environmental variables for that platform, whether it's AWS, Heroku, whatever. But that's a different conversation. But for your local Node environment, here, those are some of your options. Good options. .env, custom-env, and env-yml. I like it. Have a good one.